Lesson 5, work quickly. Lenin was fond of a Russian expression: the slower you go, the further you get. Forget Lenin. The faster you go, the more momentum you build. Act swiftly and magic happens. Act slowly and your best efforts will get lost in an endless stretch of time as enthusiasm dwindles. I've seen this time and again in the Federation system, and it's the bane of all life in the bureaucracy. Trust me, I was born into one of the greatest bureaucracies in the world. We raised most of the money for our first Israel emergency campaign and organized a rally of 150,000 people on the mall in just a couple of days. Contrast that to the slow and careful planning that we did for our engagement campaign. We processed everything, we hired consultants, we reached out to all of our stakeholder populations, and by the time we were done with all of that, no one really cared anymore. Passion moves. It also dies. Move with it. Lesson 6, take risks and make mistakes. We live in a time when we have little tolerance for error. We don't create work cultures that allow for mistakes as the ultimate learning tools and create the capacity for forgiveness. I learned about this from a very special person, Michael Gelman. I remember clearly when we were deliberating about Super Sunday and moved it to December, and then to February, and now back again to December. I asked Michael what he thought about this idea, and he said, "We won't know until we try." And that was the way he approached so many aspects of his leadership, a willingness to experiment and learn from success and also from failure. Didi Feinberg was also a great model of this, and I thank her for taking the risk of hiring, in her words, the mad Russian, and for never letting me forget it. Lesson number 7, find a mentor. Leaders can't operate alone. They need teams, they need teachers. Seek out mentors. I was blessed in these many years to find one such mentor in this community, Bob Kogan. Freud argued that the way we grow up is an imitation of those closest to you. Looking up to someone gives you aspirations. Pirkei Avot tells us to make a rabbi for ourselves. Go out and find someone who can bring out the best self in you. For me, Bob Kogan was that person. Bob, you're wisdom personified, and you have taught me the lessons of optimism and self-restraint. And man, do I need lessons in self-restraint. Lesson number 7, zero in on what's important. One of the most important lessons that Bob taught me is how to zero in on what's important and let go of the rest. You can't do it all. You can't even do most of it. But you can do some of what you set out to do if you're hyper-focused on what's important and you don't let other things get in the way. And when I zero in on what's most important, I come up with a few people. Elisa, my wife, who is also a mentor to me. She's my consigliere, my closest and wisest advisor, who has brought so much goodness and happiness to my life. I thank my mother, who is here this evening. I wouldn't be here this evening were it not for a sacrifice she made 3 decades ago to leave her home and to create a better life for her children in another land. And lastly, to my beautiful children, some of whom are here and others who are in their beds. You are my essence. The last one. Be inspired and stay inspired. What do I mean by this? When you feel inspired, it's like riding on top of a surf, being carried by something very powerful that is greater than yourself. It is as much outside of you as it is within you. If you want to lead well, only commit yourself to a cause that inspires you. My favorite definition of leadership follows Peter Drucker's simple word. A leader, he said, is simply someone who has followers. without inspiration, you can't lead because no one will follow you. This was a lesson taught to me by Erica Brown, the muse of my musings, my co-author, and my executive coach. Make no mistake, this job is hard. Riding a wave is not a good metaphor completely, because a wave crashes. And I've seen that happen to so many people who make their business in the Jewish community. They crash because so many things sap our inspiration. Politics, negativity, apathy, incivility, little things like not getting calls returned, or people who just love to hear themselves speak. They wear away at our inspiration. And that's why this is the last lesson, and the most important one of all. It is not only to be inspired, but to stay inspired. To stay on top of that wave and ride its thrilling momentum, and then find the next wave and ride that one. To do this job well, you have to be inspired again and again. It has to connect powerfully to your neshama, your soul. For me, to borrow Rabbi Jonathan Sachs's words, I see myself as a letter in the scroll, a part of an extended family with a collective mission, and that inspires me day after day. Those are my 9 lessons of leadership that you have taught me. If I thought hard enough, I might have come up with 100. But 9 is good enough for now, and more than enough to master. Thank you for being the classroom in which I learned them, and for your compassion and your dedication to the mission of the Jewish people. Take these lessons with you, and I will take them with me. Good night.